It's been said that luck is the intersection of preparation and opportunity. Welcome to the Australian Hunting Backcountry podcast, where we will focus on all things hunting in the backcountry, not just in Australia, but everywhere that backcountry hunting is possible. My name is Tobias, and if you're a hunter with no backpacking experience, or even an expert, I would like you to join me as we explore gear, places, and technologies, hear lived experiences, different perspectives, and share the passion that people have for a hard-earned backpack hunt. I appreciate you being here with me as I try to increase the knowledge that will bring us better luck in the backcountry. Alright, I'll kick it off and you ready?
Yep, all good.
Welcome to this episode of Australian Hunting Backcountry. Today I'm very fortunate to be joined by Eric Atkinson, who is, well, I'll get him to introduce himself to you in a minute, but today we're going to be talking about some backpacking food. Eric.
Hey mate, good to be on your podcast. Yeah, so my name's Eric Atkinson. I'm one of the part owners of On Track Meals and On Track Expeditions. So definitely a company that's we're the end user. So we make shelf-stable retorted meals for which are Australian made and also veteran-operated companies. So it's a really exciting company to be a part of and to develop and to really enhance Australian capability.
Yeah, great. So Eric, one of the reasons why I've reached out to you and have spoken to you is because obviously you make the pre-prepared meals, but you do things a little bit differently. Like the traditional sort of backpacking style meal is a dehydrated or freeze-dried meal, and they've come a long way over the years. I remember years ago, some of the meals you were almost better off heating the packaging up and eating that rather than and throwing the contents away. So before we get too much into the meals, just give us a bit of your background as well and how you came to be part of this company.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting background. So probably for myself, I joined the army when I was 17 years old. So you could definitely say I'm an end user of the ration pack food itself.
Suffered through some of the MREs.
Oh yeah, I've eaten American, Australian, Dutch, Malaysian, all that. So it's a very interesting that I'm now come back to eating, developing MREs itself. But yeah, so in the army, I was a ASLAV. I started as in Armoured Corps and as a 113 driver, so APC, and then finished off my career as a crew commander with the ASLAVs. So I...
sorry, just explain what the ASLAV is.
Oh, sorry. The ASLAV's a 8-wheeled armoured vehicle itself. So great bit of kit, and it's got 3 positions in there, a driver, a gunner, and crew commander. So I was fortunate to finish my career as a crew commander. So I was... earlier on in my career, I did a couple stints doing boat people on some of our Navy ships, and then did Rifle Company Butterworth, where we spent 4 months over in Malaysia doing jungle training and eating a lot of ration packs, including dehydrates and even some Malaysian stuff. And then I was then deployed to Iraq in Baghdad for Sector 8 and Sector 9, and also that was in 2006, and then I deployed to Afghanistan in 07-08, part of Reconstruction Task Force 3. Yeah. So from there, I learnt a lot about life, and we're very lucky to have what we have in Australia itself, and was then transferred over to the fire service, where I've been doing that ever since. But at the same time, been very fortunate to have be a part owner of On Track Meals and Expeditions. So.
So my understanding from what you said before is you got sort of interviewed and headhunted basically by the owners of On Track to come on board?
It was, I'd say it was probably by a pure chance thing, which was pretty funny, where at that stage I was working at Flight Centre as a personal trainer, and they knew, and I was asked if I wanted to be support staff for a Kokoda Track in Papua New Guinea for Australian Story. And I said, yeah, why not? Like, I'm ex-army. Like, there was a bit of ego involved, definitely. Like, I've done jungle training in Malaysia. How hard can it be? So I ended up...
Famous last words.
Famous last words, you know. There was definitely ego, you know, put my pack on, did a couple of training runs, she'll be right, you know. I know stuff, I know things. And within the first day of setting off on the Kokoda Track, I knew I've gone, what have I just done? You know, it really dawned on me with all the equipment we had and all that, how hard the veterans in World War II had it, especially on the Kokoda Track. And then there was this girl that we were support staff was, and her backstory was that she had been in a head-on collision going home one day, and she died, I think, 4 or 5 times, and she was a part of experimental therapy, which lowered her body core temperature to see if she was able to survive through that. And she was an open course swimmer, I think 5th in Australia at that stage, and she had to learn to walk, talk, everything, do everything again. And fast forward 12 months, here she was walking the Kokoda Track with her dad itself. So it was such an uplifting thing to be a part of. So here I am struggling myself. I'm like, you know, you can't look at this girl. She's just learned to walk, and she's just taken it. She was so good. Like, you could just see her resilience was absolutely amazing. But the owner and the founder of On Track Expedition was on that track, which was Richard James. And we got talking, and I think by the end of it, he said, hey, do you want to be a trek guide for On Track Expeditions? So I said, no, one's enough, that's it. You know, thanks for the offer, that's it. And we finished, and then a couple months later, he said, hey, I'm going to be in Brisbane. My dad's going to be here, and do you want to catch up for a few beers? And I said, yeah, sure, no worries, we'll do that. And I think it was 1.5 beers, and here I was, a trek guide for On Track Expeditions. It's...
So you apparently were drink spiked in that.
100%.
Yep.
I'm just a victim.
Yeah, that's really, I guess, an example of inspiration, somebody else's inspiration coming through and rubbing off on you. You know, not only did you see the hardships that the vets in the war would have faced, but you also saw this young girl who was struggling through, you know, that disability, for want of a better term, and then give you that sort of moment to reflect.
Yeah, it was so, there were so many things going on for that trek for me, for her. Firstly, her, to see her resilience and how she just got up and continued on every day. Secondly, I'd only been probably coming out of the army, didn't realise, I wouldn't say I had issues, but there was still things lingering there for myself. And being on the Kokoda Track, it was very, very emotional. And I remember carrying a picture of a mate of mine that died over in Afghanistan with me. And you know, that was a big thing for me to take him on that trek with me. And you know, so there was quite a few things like that. And you know, and I'd literally just come out of a long-term relationship, I think a day before I left for the Kokoda Track. So it was this, you know, I felt like that trek was one of those resets of my whole life. You know, without that trek, it just changed everything. And I remember crossing that finish line, and I felt a lot lighter itself, and you know, and it was a lot to do with this amazing girl too. Like, you know, her resiliency behind her and just talking to a father, and and that all those things, including just understanding how lucky we have it in Australia, hearing the veteran stories, like being deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, we had it so good compared to the guys from the 2nd, 14th, and the Chocos of the 39th and all that pretty much had nothing, and they went off to fight the Japanese. So really. There was a lot of things that came out of that, how lucky I was, and probably some of the things that I was thinking about, saying, hey, why is this happening to me? It's like how lucky I am. So it definitely was a change of mindset from that day on. So
yeah, no, that's really, I guess, what we were talking about before when we were having a coffee and so forth, and some of our past lives, I guess, and even with your father and so forth. So you can't go and do something like that. You can't serve in anytime you put on a uniform, there's a degree of trauma that's associated with it because of what inevitably happens to you just as part of your so-called employment.
Yeah.
So,
and I think there's this stigma that it's always the weak people that go down, and some of my friends, or even one of my bosses on one of my deployments, he was the most resilient, toughest guy I've ever met, and he went down with PTSD. So there's this thing that only weak people do, and it's mostly the strong people that definitely do suffer from those things. And it mightn't be after it might catch up years down the track. And I think it's one of those things that I'm very because it's been my whole life with my dad. He was in the police and he got post-traumatic stress disorder. And now going from the army, where a lot of my mates on my deployments have post-traumatic stress, and even the fiery, some of my good mates there. So, it's always living in the back of my mind, like, hey, look after yourself. It's not weak to ask for help.
Yep.
But
And as men, and I don't say this to be in any way sexist, but as men, traditionally we don't do well with emotions and feelings, and our baseline behaviour is to suppress all of that and push it down into a deep, dark place where it just compounds and metastasizes into a big, ugly creature, and then comes out in various forms. So
totally. It's and I think a lot of those times you just go, oh, she'll be right, she'll be right, or people mask it with alcohol and just go, I'm having a bad day, and it just continues on like that. Or trying to get that adrenaline. And I was only talking about this a couple of days ago, that one of my things wasn't probably alcohol or drugs, but it was motorbikes. With that beautiful motorbike behind us at the moment. But when I came back from the transition from the army to the fire service, I remember getting on to a bike that I had at that stage and just riding really, really hard on it. Like I was an absolute lunatic on it, not because I was a good rider. I was a horrible rider, and somehow I survived, and I just wanted that kick of adrenaline. I've been back in Afghan or back in Iraq. I was really, and I was at a station at that stage. Acacia Ridge Fire Station was a pretty high tempo, low social economic, so we're getting the jobs, and it was just like, I was really hungry for that kick, and I'm very lucky I never killed myself on that bike, and I didn't realise what I was doing, like to the point that I'd be shaking, like get off the bike, and I just had that much adrenaline, my hands would shake, and funny enough, it would have been a year and a half into my fire service career, I got hit by a drunk driver doing the speed limit. For once doing the speed limit, and I think that sort of changed it. And I had Gixxer 600, so I didn't really have too much respect, and I upgraded to Ducatis, and I'm just too scared of dropping Ducatis now because I love them so much. But that was probably my advice, if anything, when it came to mental health, that I was so, in a way, addicted to that scare or the adrenaline that, and the way that I got that was through motorbikes. So, and I'm just a lucky one to survive. So,
So moving on then to the post drugging that you where you agreed under duress to come on board with On Track.
Yeah.
Then where did you start with the company?
Yeah, it's definitely started as a trek guide. So I started, and I want to also my wife's a travel agent. So myself and my wife are part owners of On Track Meals and Expeditions. She's the smarter side of me, so
Yep.
she books all the flights and all that. But yeah, for myself, I started as a trek guide, and the great thing about what we were doing at On Track Expeditions, we're taking a lot of Duke of Edinburgh awards over to Kokoda. So it meant young adults, so anywhere between 16 and I think 19 years old, and being able to see them on their journey of being in a very harsh environment itself. And some of these kids, it was their first time out of country, or it was their first time away from technology.
Yep.
And one of the things that I saw very quickly, because I'd taken a couple of adult treks before, but there was one day and it just started raining, a lot of rain, like it was so bad. And I hadn't, rookie error, as you'd probably done before, my sleeping bag wasn't packed the normal way it wasn't in waterproof container, you know.
Been there, yep.
Yep, you know, you go, I know boats once again, and then of course the environment humbles you, and that was it. And I just remember going, everything soaked, my sleeping bag soaked, this is horrible. And I looked around, and here's all the kids running around having the time of their life. And you know, it was one of those moments like, look at where we are, like these kids are so resilient if you allow kids to be resilient. And some of them were homeschooled, some of them lived on, I think there was one on a farm, others lived in inner city, but they were all acting the same way too. And you know, seeing that, I had such a privilege to be able to guide them, tell the stories of these World War II veterans and what those veterans went through, including the Fuzzy Wuzzy Angels, and showing those kids too, not just about that history, but what it is to be Papua New Guinean now. So going through the villages and showing them the schools. Hey, these kids have to walk 5-6 Ks each day to school, and they love it. They think this is the best thing ever. So it's those things of, they don't take these things for granted, while probably kids in Australia, including adults and myself. That's why I love doing it, because it's a big restart for myself.
Yep.
Is seeing that, you know, we've got it so good. But that's the biggest thing about the treks, doing it in Kokoda. And we were doing really well. And I was taking probably 1 to 2 a year. I did one in 2018, where it was a back-to-back. So I took a school group, flew back to Australia for a day, and then went back there and then did another trek. And the crazy thing about Kokoda, and once again, a humbling experience, was the first trek had been really hot, really dry. And then when I went on the second one, I'm like, listen up, kids. I know this. I was only here a week ago. And it was wet, it was cold, it just changed so quickly. And, you know, it's PNG and jungle has a way to really humble yourself. Yep. You never know what it's going to do. So.
Yeah. There's nothing like the outdoors to hand your ass to you and remind you that you're only human.
Yeah, and I think that's what I love about it, because we're so, you know, we think we're the apex predators, aren't we? We're the king of the jungle and all that, and you just have to go to these places to understand we're just a part. We either fight against it or we be a part of it, and that's it. And PNG, like most places in the world, especially in the wilderness, is exactly like that. You have to adapt and overcome. So.
Yep. And pardon my ignorance, in regards to the kids that you are taking, are they both male and female?
Yeah, definitely. We have a wide, diverse range. So the Duke of Ed Award program is to provide leadership. So It comes from, so we take anything from the NT police rangers. I've taken them a couple times to PCYC groups. So, and it's about leadership itself, and they have to do certain things. So when they get to Kokoda, it's their gold. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher this, but their gold award. So it's pretty much their final test itself. So it can be females, it can be males, all walks of life. We've had people rep basketball sides to in a choir itself. So it's a very diverse range, and from not just all backgrounds. So we've from First Nations to language English is their second language and all that. So it's a really good thing to see how everyone comes together, and I think that's the greatest thing about Kokoda. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, or how old you are. You have to embrace the suck the same as everyone else. So
puts everybody on the same level.
Yep.
And so the on-track expeditions was sort of the start of it for you, from our conversations before.
Yeah.
And were there other places that you went besides Kokoda?
Yeah, so primarily it was Kokoda itself, and then we started looking at other products such as Kilimanjaro, and we started doing that, and I think it was about 2018, Nepal. So I've done I have done Everest Base Camp, and then also that overland track in Tasmania itself. So we started building up those products, and especially for our clients that had done Kokoda with us but wanted to do something else. So, and it sort of remained the same as we built that up. And then sort of what happened was we're doing pretty good in all aspects, and the food was the issue for us when we started to see logistical challenges. And the founders, which were of On Track Expeditions, were Richard James and Andrew James. And Andrew James is ex-Special Forces soldier, did deployments to Afghanistan itself. So they sort of went out at that stage, and I was working as a track guide with them. They went out and started looking at shelf-stable solutions itself. And of course it was in a dodgy kitchen as it started, and started looking around how they did those things. And there was another guy, and he's also one of the owners now, is Ian Lum, and he was sort of a part of that process where they were in a kitchen and just to see how we can supply our treks itself. And so they came up with, I think, maybe about 4 or 5 different options to do that, to just supply to our own treks itself. And that was pretty much what we're going to do. With it was just On Track Expeditions. There was no real branding back then and things like that. So that's how, in a way, the first idea of On Track Meals came about. Yep.
And then the dirty C word happened.
Yes,
and, that was a kind of a catalyst for the expansion in that side of it.
Yeah, it was. Geez, so many emotions. Like for myself and my wife, Alexis, we were asked if we wanted to be part owners, I think in 2019 and it's like, this is what we loved the company. We loved working with Lummy, which is Ian, Rich, and Andrew, and we just loved the whole company. And it was something that we really wanted to be a part of, and was so stoked to do it. And my wife was a travel agent at that stage, and of course March happened, March 2020, and COVID. It just changed everything for On Track Expeditions pretty much forever. And I remember Richard going, "You guys can back out from this agreement," and we said no. Like for some reason we had so much belief in what we were doing and what the company stood for, that we still wanted to be a part of it and be one of the part owners. And from there, we just pivoted. Like that was the biggest thing. My wife being a travel agent, her occupation before being a travel agent was a graphic designer. So a lot of all our graphic design on our products are from Alexis itself, Lexi. She pivoted, the same as the company, where we sat down in March and said, what are we doing? And at that stage, like everyone, wasn't it? Oh, it's going to be 3 months. It'll be good. What are we going to do in 3 months? Oh, let's see if we can commercialize this a bit more. It'll only be 3 months, maybe 6 months. That's it.
Yep. Lockdowns. The government's never going to lock us down.
Nah, that's not
crazy.
Yeah, we would never do that. There's no way in the world. We're too strong for that. Oh, never. We would never close borders. We would never. And that was it. It just went further and further down. And I remember a couple of the treks we're looking at going, this isn't happening. And that ruined my wife's company because that's all she sort of knew. All travel agents around the globe, even expeditions, all these expeditions we had were all now done. So it was, we either sit and spend our time trying to do refund after refund or start building this business, and it was the meals. We looked at the meals and they were in the silver packaging, something that wasn't appetizing, and the meals inside were amazing. I think we had 6 in the range at that point in time, so we would have had 3 meat versions, so our beef, mild and chicken curry, and then our vegan options, which I'm not a vegan, but I absolutely love the chickpea bean and spicy Mexican bean. And, we started looking at that and going, how do we build this business? And, all of us were such, going backwards and forwards. It's like, how do we grow a business in a retail market? And we sort of headed off on that range of sending emails out. Lex was doing graphic designs on, we went from, it was called, I think back then, Heat and Eat, On Track Heat and Eat, to then, I think November that year, having its own company called On Track Meals itself. And it sort of moved into that. And then we started, I think probably at that stage, we might have been 3 or 4 retail stores. And they were all very independent stores or ones that we had a close tie with On Track Expeditions. And it was like, oh yeah, guys, you can put it in here. It was like, oh, that's cute. You've sort of made your meals. And then we definitely, the more and more we looked, we saw this huge gap. And I think On Track Meals, we were just trying to find ourselves too. That was the biggest thing. We were just trying to figure out who we are. And what we saw was a huge gap in Australian capability and about Australian products. All the products, the dehydrates, even the one shelf stable option at that stage were all New Zealand. And it's like, why are New Zealand able to do such a great products, and why are they doing so well? And why isn't Australia doing the same thing? So we saw how hard it was for us, and we're like, hey, how can we bring other brands along on this ride with us? And how can we support Australian capability and bring back manufacturing back to Australia? And it was something I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd be sort of so passionate about or wanting to do, especially ex-army. It's like, oh, let's just eat ration packs. It's like, are you serious? You left the army for this and now you're coming back. What are you a sucker for punishment or what? But we had this great people behind us. We're all mates in the company, and we get along and we love working in it, and we just kept on wanting to build it and build that Australian capability. So we've gone from 6 meals to about 14 meals, and we're all end users. Lummy, for example, he's outdoor education teacher. He's been doing adventure travel for quite some time. Then Richard, he's filmmaking, documentaries, the founder of On Track Expedition. So he definitely knows the need for it. And myself in emergency services and ex-army, we were always end users, and we're like, what are some cool stuff that we want on treks or on deployments or whatever that we want to eat? And that's when we started really looking at innovation. And the main one where we're proud of all our meals, but if we were going to have that, that that son or daughter that we're more proud of than the others,
Yep.
it'd probably be our steak.
Yep.
You know, we work pretty hard on our slow cooked Australian steak, and it's something that you can't do on dehyds. And you know, even to this day, people still go, "How, like, steak in a bag? Are you kidding yourself?" And you know, that's a great thing about being an end user. You know, it was that, and how we get our feedback from our customers. Like, you know, it's one thing for us to come up with an idea, but you know, if we're not listening to our customers, you know, we're losing a great opportunity to expand and listen. So I think one of the things that we did learn from was our lamb and pearl barley, so one of our complete meals, going out there and doing that. So it's a pretty cool thing. And when you go into our commercial kitchen and do taste testing, that's not a bad day either.
Yep.
So
yeah. One of the things that I've heard a couple of times from some people in the industry is that they're really nowadays more and more listening to the customer feedback and redesigning and you know, changing directions based on that. Before in the outdoor industry, and you would have seen it in the military as well, you were kind of given a product produced by a company, and they said, this is what we're producing for you, and bad luck if it doesn't fit you properly, or bad luck if, you know, this doesn't work adequately, or, you know, it's not actually designed for purpose, or that sort of thing. So
yeah, that's 100% right. And we've probably gone, so there's other companies out there, especially with military contracts and all that, that they've got their contract, and then from their meals that they've done, they put it out to the retail market. Well, we're doing the opposite way around, where we're grabbing all the feedback from our retail market. So our demographics on the ground, that's why we've got vegan, we've got gluten-free, we've got our meat options all day, even halal suitable meals and all that, and then trying to put that into the government market. And you know, we have got some governments, so there's governments out there that have procured our items itself, and we're really looking at that market itself. And we've got probably exciting news in the next couple of weeks to hopefully tell people about some of those things in the market. That's why I'm being a bit coy about this. But you know, it's one of those things we really listen to our people on the ground to understand, and it's all the traditions behind it, the culture behind it, what do people want. So like, you have a look at brisket, for example. Like, brisket used to be a horrible cut of meat. It was too tough and all that, and now everyone does it, including myself on the weekend. You know, and it's those things of understanding or listening to our clients when maybe something's not right, or something's you know, we don't have enough meat, or we need more vegan options, or keto is another one that we're sort of exploring at the moment. But yeah, we definitely, our customers, we found that it's okay for us to sit in a office and go, hey, what do you want to eat on your next camping trip? But we've got, for example, we're in 150 stores Australia-wide, including BCF, Paddy Palin, your Wild Earths, Tent Worlds and all that. So we've got this huge customer base now that we can start listening to people and get that feedback, and especially Australian feedback. Hey, what do Australians want? And one of those things that we're sort of looking at is, you know, is, hey, some of our First Nations meals, like, hey, how do we support that? And, you know, how do we do something that we can really show Australian culture too? So we'd love to do a meat pie, but the retort technology doesn't allow it. So, but yeah, it's really fascinating, and you know, we have to have that feedback loop. It's so important to us for a company to listen to our clients. So
and coming back to what you were saying before about New Zealand, you know, you in the hunting industry, we often see America sort of leading the charge, and then New Zealand is usually always in second place in terms of the productivity and the innovation and that sort of thing, because of the, you know, the hunting market in America is so big, and then the hunting market and culture in New Zealand is much more entrenched than it is in Australia. So Australia always seems to be taking up the slack and you know, trailing behind. So it's really encouraging to hear that there's an Australian company out there who is trying to lead the charge and you know, pushing your product into, trying to force your way into those other industries and be the leader in that regard.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, I think New Zealand, for us, we looked at how successful New Zealand has, and they've been really good at what they do, and we can do the same thing in Australia. Like, we have to embrace Australian capability, and I think that's one thing out of COVID. People have really started to realise, hey, when you buy stuff from overseas, the supply lines, the logistics and all that really does suffer. So we try to source all the food and ingredients that go into our meals from our local customers and all that, so we can get it out the door as quick as possible. And that's one of the things that we want to do with on-track meals too, is that quick turnaround itself. So we definitely go into retail stores. We've got our online store, but at the same time, government markets. We know and especially with myself, that when government has disasters and all that, they want that food yesterday. They don't want it in 2 weeks' time, and that's something that we're sort of really trying to understand our clients too in regards to that. But yeah, it's so important, the Australian capability for us.
And from what you're saying as well, you're sourcing as much as you can from within our own borders to try and encourage the Australian upon Australian business support.
Yeah, it's I think, as I said, with COVID, and just something that we're very passionate about is making sure our industrial kitchen tries to get as much stuff in Queensland or in Australia as much as we can. And it's not just a logistical thing, but it's supporting other businesses too and building that. The biggest thing that we have a problem with is our packaging. That, we say for our shelf-stable meals, we have to get that from overseas. There's no one in Australia that does it. And one of the things that we wanted to do, we went for the combat ration pack tender for the Australian Defence Force last year. And one of the biggest things, and we're so passionate about, was we wanted to bring that capability into Australia. And if we won that, we would have been able to do that. So we didn't win that tender. We learned a lot. And the Australian Defence Force were really good with giving us feedback and how we can improve in the future and all that. And it's something that we're definitely looking at in the future. But yeah, for us, it's not just about us growing our own business, but about building Australian capability in manufacturing. So.
Yep. On this session of Friends of the Podcast, I'm joined by the Game Dietitian, Ben Brallis. Ben, welcome. Thanks for coming.
That's all right, Tobias. Thanks for having me.
So, Ben, I see that you've got quite a few packages on your website and all geared around hunting, strength training, conditioning, and nutrition. So just give us a background about the Game Dietitian.
Yep, so I am a dietitian, also a strength and conditioning coach as well, and I am I work at a university as well as the hospital side of things for dietetics. So the Game Dietitian, basically, I started this to get hunters thinking about their health, their well-being, and their longevity in hunting. So we want to focus on injury prevention and basically getting people ready for the field. That's my overall goal with this.
Yep. And most importantly too, Ben, is you're a hunter yourself.
I am. So I'm in Victoria, so I hunt mainly sambar, and that is, for me, it is a food source. So that's where a lot of my philosophy and a lot of my, education to clients comes from, is a place of, this is a very high quality bit of nutrition we can access. So why don't we make the most of it?
Yep. All right. And what was the driving factor then for the packages that you brought about? Did you sort of feel that there was a gap in the industry? Somebody with your combined experience would benefit from producing this?
Yeah, I feel like nobody just on social media is really talking about it. I see, probably one guy that does do a lot of training stuff is like Cameron Haynes over in the States, but he's not a dietitian. He's not a strength and conditioning coach. And I think there is definitely a gap from a injury prevention side of things to nutrition for either weight loss, performance that is based around eating wild game, growing your own vegetables, catching your own fish. I think there's definitely an area that for hunters we can all have a really good conversation, and it's something we could all consider.
Yeah. So if I was preparing for a backpack hunt in Victoria, or if I was preparing for a Dall sheep hunt in Alaska, you would have something that you would sort of put me into some sort of program.
Yeah. So from a, I guess, starter perspective, depending on what people want to commit to, I have the fallow deer package. So that's a 6-week training program. That's purely, you just buy that online through the website, which is www.thegamedietitian.com.au. And that's going to focus on structural balance and general physical preparedness. So injury prevention and getting you basically strong so you don't break down on your hunt, but also conditioned as well. So we want to be working on all the different energy systems that allow you, to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And then so you're not cooked from when the important bit comes, where you have to take a shot, where you can still have that mental clarity and focus.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the key of the fallow deer program.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the red deer program, which is more of your, I guess, coming in face to face side of things, personal training, I guess you could call it that as a package. That's a 12-week program. So that depends on your availability, but training from anywhere from 1 to 4 times a week with me. And then we also do a lot of performance testing. We do a very in-depth nutritional assessment as well to try and iron out any kinks that you may be having from a health perspective or performance perspective. And if you are really trying to nail your nutrition for your backpack hunting, this is where a conversation can start as well.
Yep.
And then from that side of things as well, there is nutrition and supplements. As a standalone service, where this can be through Zoom or face to face, Microsoft Teams, whatever platform people want over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And we again geared to hunting or to chronic disease management, sports performance, weight loss. It really depends on what you need and what you want to get out of it. And there are a lot of questions around gut health as well, because it is something that is, I believe, goes hand in hand with backpack hunting, is making sure you don't get caught with your pants down when you've got that stag of a lifetime,
Yep.
looking right at you.
Yep.
And then the last package is the Samba package. So that's via application only, which is through the website. And that's 2 clients every, 6 months. So that's, having access to me 7 days a week through training, whether that's face-to-face, online. You have my number on speed dial, and I will pretty much assist you and as much as you need. So a lot of it is based around, obviously, there's the training side of things, but nutrition as well. So if you need help shopping, if you need help cooking, I do offer that service as well. So it's a real working as a team to, I guess, make you the best version of yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So somebody preparing for that once in a lifetime type hunt, like I said, my pinnacle for me is a Dall sheep hunt in Alaska, and you want to be at your best level if you're going to go and do something like that, because the last thing you want is to get over there and then suffer an injury or not be able to make it up the mountain or carry a backpack, and that the terminology I've heard used quite a few times is bonking in the backcountry, where your nutritional needs are not met for your caloric output.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. We got to look at energy in, energy out. but also the energy you're using to just sit there and do nothing, and to, if we can find any areas that aren't optimized, whether that's from just, a energy and carbohydrate perspective, to have a quick snack so you can recharge, or from a hydration point of view, to make sure that your body's just functioning optimally. That's some things we need to consider. And then obviously the supplementation side of things as well. If that is a path that we need to go down, we can go down that. But I always will generally recommend that someone has a blood test before that is done. Just so we can be specific. Because there's no point just shooting blind.
Because one of the important things to understand is your energy needs, your caloric intake, and even the type of food is different in the backcountry than what it is when you're sitting at home. And I guess if you work with people to identify that, to find out what's going to work best with them, even just sitting there trying to keep warm, when you're glassing on a hillside, that's different to sitting in front of your couch on the TV. Sitting on your couch in front of the TV. So that's where somebody like you, I imagine, would come in and provide that working example.
Exactly. It's all those little 1%ers we have to consider, and what you have access to, and what you're willing to try, and for your hunt, and what do you normally do for your hunt. If you've seen online that there's some super duper new supplement, and this is going to give you this and that, and it's pumped full of things that you don't know how to read a nutrition label and things like that, or how to research ingredients correctly through the, correct literature channels. It's something that I would do. So I take all the guesswork out, and if there's any questions, like I always say, there's no such thing as a stupid question. You don't know, ask. I don't know everything, so I have people that I ask, and hopefully I can be that go-to person for hunters out there.
Yeah, great. Ben, you mentioned before that you might have a bit of a special deal for the Australian Hunting Backcountry podcast listeners.
Yep. So if you go onto the website and you buy the 6-week fallow deer program, if you go Backcountry 20, you'll get 20% off the program, and it's already at a reduced price. So you'll get a further 20% off that as well.
Right.
And if my math is correct, you're looking at something that's, I spent a lot of hours on for about $10-15 a week. So that's definitely something I would recommend. If you are a hunter and you're wanting to try and get into the training space and having a good structure, I definitely would recommend giving that a crack. But if you have any uncertainty, any questions, just ask me.
Okay. All right. Well, very generous, Ben. Thank you very much for that.
That's all right.
What's you've got your website, www.thegamedietitian.com.au, and how else would people connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm also on Instagram as well, which is just at the Game Dietitian. So I try and post a couple times a week on there, but even if I'm not posting frequently, I am on there, speaking to people quite often. So that is probably, if you just wanted to have a general chat, that would be the go-to space to do so. But if you're interested more in working with me or products and things, I would go through the website. There's forms and things set up there to make it more streamlined, so I can help you the best I can.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned it before, but I just want to clarify that whilst you're based in Victoria, these products can also be provided to people anywhere in Australia. You can do Zoom calls and phone calls and so forth on any of these packages.
Yeah, absolutely. So it comes down to your needs first and foremost, but I am willing to, we can do Zoom, Teams, things like Skype, phone calls. It depends on what you need, and a lot of the time I will do like quite an in-depth consultation process. So if someone is wanting to work with me face to face, we also have like a red deer assessment or consultation, which is $60 for 45 minutes. It's a really good try before you buy. You get to know me. You might hear my voice and think I'm lovely, but face to face, you might think I'm a bit of a prick because I say something you don't like. But it is, I'm all about, getting the best outcome for somebody. So whether they're in Victoria or interstate, if I don't believe I can help you, I will refer on.
Yep.
And that's something being, acting with honesty and integrity is something that's very important to me. But yeah, so if you are, anywhere in Australia, and you're unsure of what, product or service you think might be applicable to you, just shoot me a message and I'll do my best to assist you.
Awesome. All right. Well, for the listeners out there, want to support a fellow hunter and get themselves in better shape and better condition for the backcountry, please reach out to Ben. Ben, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Tobias.
Great. Appreciate it. Just a quick follow-up to this Friends of the Podcast segment. Ben has since contacted me after recording this and advised that he has applied the 20% discount already to the Fallow Deer 6-week challenge. So jump on to thegamedietitian.com.au and check out the price that Ben is offering this program to podcast listeners for. It's a great price, and Ben has also sent me a complimentary copy of the Fallow Deer program, so I'm looking forward to reviewing that and putting it into practice. Thanks again, Ben, and thanks, listeners. You talked about your commercial kitchen and the shelf life and so forth, and I should have pointed out at the start that we're actually currently sitting in the on-track bat cave out the back of Brisbane Industrial Estate. So there are some trucks driving past and reversing that you might hear in the background, and there's a crow out there apparently sitting on a guttering at the moment. But
it knows we're recording.
Yeah. So now this, from what you've said, this facility has kind of changed for you because you actually had to move everything to a more commercial sort of premises.
Yeah. So we've still got our industrial kitchen, and we've got a company that makes our meals for us, and they've been with us since the start, and they're amazing. But what we had, and this is our old warehouse, which had we could put about 10 to 12 pallets in there with a lot of shelf space, and we're operating out of this daily. But because of how we've grown itself, we've got a packing and logistics solution that does it all for us. So probably what was happening with myself and the other business partners is would be sending out emails during the day or having our other jobs, and then we'd be doing most of our packing if it wasn't here, we'd be taking our product home and would be in our own garages packing it at 10 o'clock at night. And so it just seemed really like doing Tent World and BCF orders in the back of our, going home, doing the invoicing and all that, and then sending it off. And, and it got to a time that we've gone, you know what, we don't have time to work on the business. We're just completely in where we just can't get out of this, what we're doing at the moment. And we were able to engage with this third-party packing and logistics solution, and it's been amazing. So it seems very, very bare. And at the moment, apart from some prototype testing, so we've got some ration packs in here for one of our government agencies we're sort of working with. But it's a shell of a place at the moment, and we just use it for overflow. But it's amazing to, we're growing, and it's all about the customers believing in Australian capability and tasting our food. Like you had a great story before about how you found out about us, and those stories just always make me smile itself. So
yeah. And in terms of the shelf life as well, you mentioned before that you've kind of just recently changed the wording on the packaging, because of I guess a change in what you've come to realise about the actual shelf life.
Yeah, so probably the main thing for everyone listening, if you don't know what shelf stable or on-track meals is all about, where it's a fully heat and eat, so you don't need to add water to it. You just open it up. You can either eat it as is, cold.
You could eat it cold essentially as well if you needed to.
And I've taken some of these, the best best place to test our food is a fire station. So I always take it to the one of the fire stations and go, hey, what do you guys and girls like about it or not? And one of the guys I know, he's a mate of mine, he'll eat the spicy Mexican bean cold. And that's one of our tasting criteria. How does it taste cold itself? So yeah, we can do that. You can have it in a flameless heater bag. You can put it in boiling water and heat it up like that. Even if you're doing four-wheel drive, and put it in the engine bay somewhere and have it there for the whole day. So when you're finished, you can get out and then you can eat it as is. And the great thing about it, not having water, you can use it as emergency ration packs too. So a lot of my friends there are ultra light hiking and those things, and I say, hey, do it as your every second or third meal. How good would it be for a steak for your third meal with some pumpkin? I think the R&D that's gone behind it's years and years, and we've had exploding pouches. And we started as 2-year best before, and we had a look at it, and we always keep our batches to see how they go and things like that. And then we got to one of our first batches, one of our Trek guides opened it up, and that was 6 years from manufacture, and he goes, it's perfect. So from that and doing all our quality control and all that, we've decided to bump it up to 3 years, but it's best consumed within 3 years of production itself. So it's not a best before, it's within 3 years of consumption. So the great thing about these foods is you can eat it in 10 years' time. The sensory properties will probably go down a bit, the taste, the smell, but it'll still have those nutritional qualities itself. And so we definitely do, and I think I had a phone call last week from a guy, hey, it's gone past the use-by date for a couple of months ago. Yeah, eat it, mate. It's all good. It's all good. So
it's not like your milk in the back of the
No, it
fridge.
won't curdle. It's not going to explode. Things like that. But the reason why it's so good, and we don't have preservatives in there, it's a specialist pouch itself. And this pouch allows it goes into a machine at 120 degrees, so it kills all the bacteria out of the food. And so what that allows us to do is to have food with no preservatives in it, or very limited itself. But those, sometimes we've got some numbering itself, but it's very, very limited. And it's not as a preservative, so to say. It's the way that we do the heat treatment itself that gives it that best before, longevity itself. So it's a really cool technology that, as you said, with America, with the hunting, it's very much the same in America. They do retort technology very well. New Zealand, they've got some of it, but it's something that we can really expand in Australia, especially for some of those communities out back that don't have refrigeration or cold places that they can put meals and all that. This is a great option, including cyclone shelters, emergency, even if you're at home in bushfire prone areas. Our meals are perfect for that, to have in an area in case of eating for emergency. Actually, not even that, just have it on your shelf. It's a good thing if you're busy for time, just rip it open and eat it. It's good to go. So
I mean, even I'm sort of thinking, on a long road trip, rather than stopping and eating, the old hot box at the petrol station, a cabana that's been sitting there for 14 hours, just for the sake of eating something, this would be something you could take with you on the road part of the trip. Even if you don't take it backpacking, if you're that weight conscious, and you don't want to take these, then for that element of it, you can easily feed a family just by ripping 4 of them open and heating them up. And
and that's the thing. A old boss of mine is doing a cycling trip around Australia, and he's got a whole lot of these in his on his bike to do that, or mates 4-wheel driving. That's a thing where you've got, of course, everyone's got a fridge in the back of their car, but you can just plonk it. You can have it as your go pack itself. Your bug out bag. You can do it home. It's so diverse. It doesn't have to be. I've eaten these in -10 before. I've eaten them in 40, 50 degree heat, and they're just so diverse in what you do. If you're if you're looking after kids at home and you just want something to put in with a bit of rice, you can do that. So you can, if you're for firefighters, say rural fire service that are firing out on fire lines and all that, they can have it right there. If you're in fire-prone areas, you can use the flameless heat bags or eat it as is. So the applications of this, and you don't need to not have water. That's the great thing, where if you are in a situation that you might not be able to get water, I'd highly recommend something like this to have that, so you don't starve. Because water, water's so scarce sometimes in those environments.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to work hard to get your water. But even some of the work that I used to do, we would have to sit in a car for a very long period of time, and you couldn't move. You couldn't, unless somebody would come and relieve you, you couldn't go down the sandwich bar and get something to eat or whatever. Or so even having a couple of these in your pack with you, and you can sit there and eat. So
I remember in the army, if it was Iraq, Afghan, being in a turret of an ASLAV and just eating these either cold or hot, and that you just eat them out of the pouch. There's you don't have to put them on a plate or anything like that. They're very, very diverse meal that you can eat wherever you need to. So very tasty.
And in terms of the nutritional value to them as well, I mean, pre-prepared meals like this sort of thing, maybe in the past haven't been as nutritional as they perhaps should be in terms of breaking down your macro percentages and quality of ingredients and even quantity of ingredients. Like we said before, sometimes when you would open these packets and it would be purported to be some sort of meat, and you open it and you actually you might find 1 piece or 2 pieces of meat in there, but because they've put it in, they can tick the box to say yes, it's this.
Yeah, that's 100% right. And us being the end user too, we're very we look at it and go, I think our all-day breakfast is a prime example where we have whole mushrooms in there, whole bits of chunks of potato, chorizo, bacon, those things that we want. We want it to taste good, but we want it to actually look like food too. All our, for example, our proteins, we make sure that we have significant protein. We're not just saying it's a sweet and sour pork, but it actually has good chunks of pork in there, and taste and nutritional value is so important. And we definitely we've always aligned with, as much as we can, with the Australian Defence Force nutritional guidelines and those other emergency management groups in the States and all that, with their nutritional guidelines, because we want the troops and our clients to be fed well at the end of the day. Or if you're having a bad day where it's raining and going, you want people to remember how good the meal was. And I know I was Afghan and Iraq, being around people at a long day, there's nothing better than sitting around with good meals and just having a good chinwag and gobbing off with your mates and having a good laugh and all that with good food. When you have to open up something that's cold or crappy, you're there, it loses that feel itself. So
well, the old saying, like we said before, an army marches on its stomach.
Yeah.
And I know some people, particularly with backpacking, everything's a compromise. You've got to sacrifice in one way or another for something else. So if you want ultra lightweight, then you've got to, essentially sacrifice some things. And but certainly there, you should entitle yourself to some comfort. And if that means carrying a little bit more weight, because essentially I don't know what the difference is, and I'm not sure whether you do, but because these are not dehydrated or freeze-dried, there would be a little bit of weight difference between the two meals, because they're, like you say, a heat and eat, so you don't need to add water to it. But what you're gaining, the trade-off for that weight penalty, is a healthy, hearty meal that's going to improve your morale straight away, and probably maybe keep you on the mountain for longer.
Yeah, that's it. Like, especially if you're putting in bad water into your food too, like this is all, as I said before, the bacteria is taken out. You can open it and know that you're not going to get sick from this food. But I think most of the time it's about a 50% weight reduction. But then when you sort of look at it, adding that water back into the hydration, if you have to carry that water, it's actually a lot more. So to put that into perspective, it's if you've got a water source going to where you are, that's great. But what happens when you're going from A to B? And we see it all the time, even in the southeast corner, of bushwalkers getting lost and things like that, and not having preparedness behind them. So this is where the retorted meals is going to give you an emergency solution or a food option from point A all the way to point B, while some of these other options, and like freeze-dried and dehydrated, only give you a food option in a way from when you get to B or you start at A. And of course there's other, they're really good. I think dehydrates and all that. I've got my own. I've eaten too many dehydrates, so I'm probably, and technology's come a long way, as we said before, and there's some really good ones on the market, and they're definitely not our competition. We don't see it that way. But, I think that's the thing where you have to look at what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. And even if it's like every third meal, give yourself a slow cooked steak, or if you're vegan, our spicy Mexican bean with packable wraps in your pack is just a perfect option itself,
Yep. And you're not a nutritionist or dietitian at
No,
all, are you?
no.
You've got no background.
Just an end user and love food.
Yeah. Yeah. And so who then in the company looks after the nutritional aspect and designing the meals in that way?
Yeah, so our commercial kitchen, we've got some food scientists with a long history and background in regards to this. So most of the time what we'll do is, once again, engage with our stakeholders, so the retail market, even government market, and go, hey, what do you guys want? And for example, the vegan option, we've got 3 in our range, and we go, hey, we need a vegan option. And those food scientists and their commercial kitchen will go, all right, and they will give us 3 or 4 different options how we can achieve that itself, to make sure that it hits our ideas, sometimes crazy ideas. Our end goal, and I don't know if we'll get there, is a KFC 2-piece feed, but that's from a shout out to Lummy, if he's listening, our business partner. That's his end game. But we definitely go to our commercial kitchen with ideas from our retail and the stakeholders, if it's government, and go, hey, well, there's a hole in this, if it's keto, things like that, can we achieve this? And then that's sort of, we go backwards and forwards, and the main thing is making sure that nutrition, all those dietary or personal beliefs, it doesn't just have to be dietary, it can be like halal, suitables, a big one for us. Gluten-free is another one, and making sure that we hit those key points so that we can give a solution. That's the way that we see on-track meals, is we're just trying to provide solutions to our customers itself, or go, hey, well, you're on this journey. How can we help you with your journey itself, or how can we help you with your problem?
Yeah, yeah. And these days there are certainly a lot of allergies out there, a lot of food-related allergies, and when you're supplying food to someone, obviously that presents a very unique challenge. So you've already sort of said that you design a lot of them around being gluten-free. To cover that off, and the vegan and vegetarian option. How do you manage those allergies?
Yeah, it starts to get to a point, like we'll have some clients that'll have tomato base, if somebody comes to us, especially talks to us via our website, we've got all the nutritional information on the back itself. Celiac, something that we're still trying to look at. And since we do a lot of kids groups for Kokoda and all that, nut allergies is another thing. So we have to make sure that we're very open and transparent
around the peanuts and that sort of thing in particular.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And I've got a 4 and a 6-year-old boy, and you have to be so careful of what you pack in their lunch boxes and all that. And it's all the same as us.
Yeah, I discovered I've got 3 children, and my daughter many years ago, we didn't realise that she had a peanut allergy, and as you probably know, with peanut allergies, they can be cumulative. So you can eat small doses of it, and then it hits a point where it becomes a tipping point and so forth. Anyway, this one night I'd cooked a chicken satay and noodles for the kids, sitting down, and she starts complaining about her throat being itchy and not wanting to eat the meal. And of course I thought she was just being a drama queen because she was a drama queen. And anyway, next minute she's choking and going red, and I'm on the phone to the ambulance, and that's how we found out she had a peanut allergy. Jeez. So now she has to carry an EpiPen with her everywhere. So we spent many years reading the fine print on the back of when you're shopping, walking around Woolies, reading the back of the fine print of all the foods to see whether they were actually processed in plants that processes peanuts, and because all of those trace amounts can add up. So
it even goes down to, I think, the point of air handling, to make sure that our commercial kitchen has air handling isolated itself. So if there's any dietary requirements, it's isolated in that unit itself to make sure it doesn't go in. And it's starting to be, especially nut allergies and all that, it's a huge thing. Even celiac, gluten-free. My wife's my wife is a glutard, so she that's a really interesting one with her, because she can have sourdough bread because of the fermentation lowers the gluten in it itself. So it's something that we with our meals we're so cautious, and when we do for our on-track expeditions, if we're taking kids groups, we have to really look at that and make sure that we're providing them with something that they're not going to get sick from.
Yep. So the meals then, off the top of your head, I'm going to test you here. Are you able to name all 14 meals?
Oh, okay. So I'll start with our base range. So we have our beef bolognese. We used to have chicken curry, but that just got discontinued. We have a mild chili con carne. We have vegan, which is our spicy Mexican bean. We have chickpea curry. We have our bean bolognese. We have our all-day breakfast. We have our slow-cooked steak. We have a sweet and sour pork. We have a coconut ginger chicken. We have what was I going to say? Lamb and pearl barley. Mm-hmm. We have coconut rice pudding, coffee infused rice pudding, and I think I might have missed one.
One left.
One left. I'm just trying to think what's the one that I've just forgotten. And then we've actually got summit bars too. So we've got energy bars, which is our choc cherry, and we've got a vegan option. It's our apricot summit bar too. So all of those are gluten free. So and I'm sorry for the meal that I just forgot. I'm sure that they taste very they taste very well.
Obviously,
There's
obviously
a lot of sons and daughters I have to remember.
Yeah, obviously it's not your favourite then.
Yeah.
So some of the meals that you were naming then, it sounds like some of those are dessert options as well.
Yeah. So our we've got 2 dessert options, which is our coconut rice pudding, which is a vegan option too. So that's that's 200 grams. We just released that last year. And then we have our coffee infused rice pudding, and that's the one that I'm pretty excited about the most because it's made from proper coffee. So I don't see this as just a dessert option, but for me, I'm not really too much of a breakfast eater. And in the morning, before you go for a hike or something like that, you can have that as is or heat it up, and it's a bit of a pre-workout itself, or before you start your trek for the day, just get that coffee kick out of it. So it's a really good one. And Rich, the founder, I think he had a bit of addiction to it at some stage, so we had to stop him from eating the stock itself, like a drug dealer. But
you're eating all the profits, boss.
But so that we're sort of we're always looking at other options. That's the great thing about talking to our stakeholders and just going, hey, how can we improve? Including we're probably going to release a couple more of our energy bar range itself, and see where that goes. So
and you other than the meals then and the bars, that's all you're sort of offering, the company's offering at the moment, but you said you're always looking to expand. Are there other directions that you're thinking about that you're able to disclose?
Oh yeah, there is. We can definitely disclose probably 2 of our options. One of them is ration packs, where we're going to go out to the retail market. We've got a couple of government agencies that we're talking to at the moment and doing prototype and testing with those. But we're going to release in the coming months a retail version of our ration packs for on-track meals, which will be the Go Pack. So one of them will be the deluxe itself. So you'll be able to get a steak and potato and pumpkin mash. That's the 14th. Number 14, potato and pumpkin mash.
Right.
And that's our side. It's really good with our steak. We designed it to do that.
Yep.
And that's something that doesn't come out of any ration pack itself. So that's our deluxe, and then we've just got our base, which will have our normal meals in it, including all the stuff that you normally see in a ration pack itself. So it's for those hikers that do a day or just want to stay overnight somewhere, or that they, or even just a Go Pack, bug out bag too. Just have your 24-hour bag, put it in there, off you go itself. So that's something that's going to be releasing soon. And the second thing is we'll be definitely looking the feedback from the four-wheel drive market, from other markets too, is a 1 kilo bag of our products. So
like
a bit of
a group bag.
A group size. So we're in the prototype phase of that. So we're looking, once again, the great part of our job is taste testing and making sure they're good to go. So we're looking at a couple of options with that. So that we should hopefully be seeing that by the end of this year itself. So
yeah, great. Sounds good. Well, one of the items on the desk in front of me is one of your prototype ration bags, and I know you probably can't talk too much about where it's going, but what you said to me before was that you've tried to source pretty much as much Australian-based product as you can to put in there.
Yeah, for sure. It's like as everyone probably understands, it's about Australian capability for us. So like in one of the ration packs, we've got a lot of like our jerky companies, Australian brand from Tasmania. We've got a hydration company from Australia in there. We've another one, Carmen's muesli bars and things like that. So that's the biggest thing for us, is showcasing Australian capability and trying to put in a ration pack all this Australian capability to, we're okay with some of those things. It'll definitely be from New Zealand, some of those
Yep.
bits and pieces. But we try to harness as much as possible to showcase what we can do
Yep.
in the food manufacturing in Australia. So
Yeah. I guess that's a somewhat unfortunate reality of it, though, is that the manufacturing industry in Australia just isn't there. So it is a reality that you're going to have to source things from overseas.
Yep.
Obviously, if you can identify companies that are still trading under the same sort of ethos that you guys are, and they're sourcing their products as locally as possible as well, then there's no harm in supporting our brothers and sisters across the strait.
And that's how we see it. We want to, when we're sort of coming up through the ranks, we want to support these other smaller businesses to do so, to showcase their products, and including our packing and logistics company. It's a emerging packing and logistics solution, and they're on the same journey as us. And for example, up the road from us, we've got Alton Goods, Sam up there, and sort of the same journey. So we just try to promote those companies that love and have a passion for what they're doing, but at the same time trying to support Australian businesses. So.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I went and spoke to Sam the other day, and we've arranged. He's about to head overseas for a little while, so when he comes back, we've arranged for a podcast interview as well. So I'll be interested to see what he's got to say. I was going to ask as well whether, in terms of the on-track expeditions, where you're sourcing your gear from, is he one of the providers?
We're definitely trying to at this stage. We're sort of in a mad restart itself, and it's something that we try to link our products in as much as we can. And they've grown as much as we have over this stage. Like every time I go up there to say hi to him, he's got some new bit of kit, and that's not good for me because I love Gucci bits and kits, and it's very interesting because for him at Alton, it's all about lightweight stuff, which is sort of counteracts what we do in on-track meals, because we're about as, in a way, a good sturdy meal.
Yep.
But there's a lot of similarities with what we do, and understanding that with their cooking gear, they like to have something that you can go out and cook, or like pots and pans, and those pots and pans are really good for our meals itself too. So it's all about balance, isn't it? You don't want to go too ultra weight, and you don't want to go too heavy itself. Yep. So and that's how we see it. And with the design of our ration packs, the two different ones that'll come into the retail market, that's pretty much showcases that. So
yeah. So where are people going to go if they want to find out more information about your meals and the nutritional breakdown and that sort of thing? Yeah,
so if anyone wants to have a look and find us, you can either see us on Instagram at On Track Meals, or Facebook at On Track Meals, and then we've got our website, which is www.ontrackmeals.com.
And that'll give people a breakdown of the ingredients in each of the meals? Yeah, for
sure. There'll be a nutritional tab on our page, which will have a breakdown of each meal and what's in it. And if you guys that are listening want any more information, feel free to contact us via our page. We're more than happy to help. And if it's good or bad feedback, we absolutely love listening to our clients and how we can improve our products. So.
Yeah. I'll also put some links in the show notes as well about those addresses, so they'll be there for your reference. Eric, in all honesty, I haven't tried any of your meals yet, but I'm definitely going to look into it a lot more, and for the next trip, like we spoke about, I think I'm going to sort of do a bit of a balancing act between the dehydrated and the ready-to-eat sort of meals, and hopefully I'll give some honest feedback to you and to the podcast as well.
Yeah, well, you'll be going away from here with a couple of our steaks and pumpkin and a couple of our other meals to try. So, and then I'll for your viewers, we'll organise a discount code too.
Okay.
So they can get 10% off our range and try it themselves. So.
Yep. All right. And will that be via your website?
Yeah, via a website
Okay,
itself.
so you can order these as well via the website?
Yeah, so
okay.
you can either order through our website, and it's pretty much, at the moment, we've got same day shipping.
Yep.
As long as you get your orders in before 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yep.
And if you need it in a hurry, please check out, and it's on our website, all our stockists, but our BCFs, Tent World, Paddy Palin, Wild Earth, even some of your independent stores, please go out and support them. They've supported us at the start, but yeah, we're definitely in a lot of stores Australia-wide, and for anyone that's had our meals before, I just want to reach out and say thanks, guys. We found you supporting On Track Meals. This wouldn't happen, including some of the products that have come out is because of your feedback. So
yeah, great. Yeah, well, Eric, I love what you're doing and supporting Australian businesses, and that's part of the ethos of the show as well, is to support as many Australian businesses as I can. So it was a pleasure to have you on today.
You too.
Thank you for sharing this story, and look forward to trying those meals definitely.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for listening in. If you'd like to contact me for a chat, pass on any feedback, or have some ideas for future podcasts, please reach out to me on Instagram at Australian_hunting_backcountry, or email australian.hunting.backcountry@outlook.com.au. For now though, please look after yourselves and your mates.